Ready to stop spinning your wheels and start moving your business forward? You're in the right place. On each episode of Accelerate to Achieve, we'll discuss a crucial step in the journey, offering tips and advice that you can apply immediately within your own company. From financial management to customer success to digital transformation, we'll cover it all while providing leadership lessons from top industry insiders. In just 15 minutes, you'll be inspired to build momentum through action and achieve incredible results. Welcome to Accelerate to Achieve, the podcast that moves you from question to answer and idea to execution.
Hello, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Accelerate to Achieve podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walter, the founder of Parrels Advisory. The devil's in the details. Does thinking about the big picture just leave us with our head in the clouds? Our guest today will tell us why securing alignment to our broader business strategies and goals is paramount to us. Today, we're incredibly fortunate to be joined by Dan Dulka, the founder of Drive Creative Agency. With more than 15 years of agency experience, he loves helping clients and their teams get great work done. His obsession with process, workflow, and analysis drives his passion for client delivery. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you guys having me.
So as we kick things off here, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, the journey, and kind of how your company's grown to where it is now?
Oh, absolutely, Ryan. So, like you said, I've had about 15 years agency experience at different levels, from leadership roles to, project management to, nothing super heavy on the creative side. I can't even draw stick figures, but I know how to help people, right? And, but I worked for, several different agencies, and, we did good work, right? Did, good brand work, good, web work, all these kind of things. And I just kind of woke up one day and I realized that, all we're doing is kind of making widgets, right? Like I wasn't able to see farther downfield, right? I wasn't able to take a small company or a mid-sized company and help them, reach their larger goals, because we were too busy, like, being in the weeds and, building items for them instead of really kind of moving mountains for them. So about 5 years ago, myself and my business partner, Corey, formed Drive Creative Agency, and that was our main focus. We wanted to really take an analytical and strategic look at how we can truly help companies. Whether you're growth oriented and we want to go from 30 million a year to 60 million a year over 3 or 4 years, whatever that strategy or whatever that goal set is, and we wanted to be able to put that strategy together and really just kind of deliver on that. And that way we were able to make just a much larger impact for our clients. And I know that we do that pretty consistently now. And that's really my main motivation. I have no interest in having a ton of, a massive amount of clients that we do a little bit of work for. I'm much more interested in having a small amount of clients that we can really help them go from, A to B over time.
So with kind of 5 years under your belt, just with the organization and maybe some things maturing, is there some consistency or some standard things you do in the way you approach engaging with a new business?
Yeah, for sure. Great question, actually. The first couple of years of owning your own agency, at least in my experience, there's kind of a labor bloodbath, because you're trying to figure out how to do a lot of things that you really never considered before. But along those lines, I also learned a lot. And, one of the largest things is really just, and I say it to my group all the time, is listen intently without judgment, right? It doesn't, to us, it really doesn't matter, where you are or how you got there. It's really that vision of, where are you currently and where do you want to go, right? And when you start with that methodology, to us, it simplifies everything, because we have the ability to look at everything with a soft set of eyes. But the key is understanding and having that intimate conversation about where, who do you really want to be, where, what are your growth goals? And a lot of times, we don't get the most clear answer for that, right? And that's why, sometimes there's symptoms, and, we have to use our expertise to kind of evaluate what's really going on, because, sometimes when you're dealing with leadership groups, everyone has different dogs in the fight as far as, what's most important to them. And, you have to be respectful of that, but you also have to have that broad perspective about, okay, what are we really trying?
No, and I'd love to dive into that last part a little bit deeper that you brought up. And I think
Mhm.
it's similar to doctors, right? They hear about a lot of symptoms,
Yep.
but that isn't exactly the solution. So how do you actually go about getting an understanding of the underlying problems that they
No,
have that are leading to those symptoms?
absolutely right. A lot of times it's very intimate conversations, right? And a lot of times it takes you a little while to get there. A lot of times it might be more closed door conversations, right? And because you have to understand the want or the need, right? So, and whatever every client's different, and everybody's, that situational um, circumstance that everyone's, looking at within their own business is what makes it challenging and fun, right? But it's like, what's the focus, right? Like from a marketing perspective, are you a $20 million company and you're positioning your brand to be sold like over the next 3 years? All right, so that's a very specific ask, right? And you can absolutely build a strategy around that. Or are you all about new customer acquisition? Are you all about attracting new employees? I mean, there's a million different ways that you can utilize marketing internally, externally, all that kind of stuff. But so a lot of it is listening to symptoms that are coming through in there a lot of different directions, but then having the ability to kind of close that door and just say, listen, like we're all just people. We're all just people trying to solve problems, right? What are we actually trying to solve here, right? Are you trying to, like I said, position to sell? Are you trying to you just built a new facility and you have max bandwidth and you want to fill that pipeline with new customers? Or or do you have more than enough business that you know what to do with, and you can't identify, hire, and retain employees fast enough to fill those roles, right? So it's really just a matter of putting a soft set of eyes on everything and truly asking the questions, but just be quiet and listen, right? Because if you do a good job, use your experience to really listen to what problems are trying to be solved, um, then use your expertise to help a strategy around that, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And I'm wondering if you also encounter, I don't know if you call it a challenge or maybe a misconception at that beginning stage too, to what clients actually come to expect or think marketing is and how it can help them address those problems. Like, I would imagine, I mean, I see it in consulting and other things I do. They're often, they just want the answer. So are there things where you're commonly, I hate to say re-educating, but working with them to understand what it is, maybe things it can do, it can't do, that they didn't realize it could do, right? So, where do things fall there for you?
No, absolutely, right. So I mean, it is a lot about not only education, but like it's always, to me at least, it's always about getting to the core of the problem, right? Like we have some clients that are, oh my gosh, we've got so much traffic to our website, and traffic from trade shows or whatever it might be, right? Which is great. I mean, it's a great problem to have, but I mean, number one, is it the right traffic? Right. So, I mean, if you have 20,000 hits to your website every month, but you only have 30 converting, then like that's a huge indicator, right? And like, I mean, just for quick theory, that might just be a messaging issue, right? You're driving a ton of traffic, it might be the wrong traffic, or you might just be sending the wrong message to people landing on you. It might be the right traffic, but you're sending the wrong message to them about who you are, what you do, and the communities that you serve, and therefore they're leaving without converting anyway, right? So there is, I mean, a lot of it is just, I mean, it all stems from what problem are you trying to solve, right? And from that, it's really just putting together just the building blocks to succeed, right? Does that answer your question? Sorry.
No, it absolutely does. And I think it was great. And actually, I'd like to go back to something you said sort of in the previous answer too, where you talked about supporting recruiting strategies and others. And I'd like to pull our view out a bit. As we think about marketing strategy and how it can help us achieve our broadest business goal, I think people always go to, oh, how it's going to help my sales. But can you align it to achieving probably a lot more of your goals than people come to expect or realize?
Oh my gosh, yes. So, if you'll indulge me, I'll tell you, a short. Well, I'm a little long-winded today, sorry, but a short story, right? It was a client that we had about 2 years ago, and we were contracted out to. It was a big client, much bigger than we normally serve. There were about 2.2 billion in annual revenue, and we were contracted out to do their website. Right, it was a great project. I mean, fun. We did, we shot a ton of video and wrote a bunch of content, just really, really nuts and bolts stuff that we really enjoy doing. And as I'm working with, some of their leadership team that we were engaged with, they made mention that the entire budget for the website was coming from their HR department. And then everyone went back into talking about SOWs and timelines and all that kind of stuff. And I said, wait a minute, I've done this a few hundred times. I've never seen a budget this size come from an HR department. Talk to me like I'm three, like really truly explain to me so I understand. And they said that they had brand new contracts, for the next 5 years with Ford and Tesla and GM and whoever else, that they were swinging a new business, but they can't find, identify, hire, and retain mid to senior level engineers and executives fast enough, and they're outsourcing several $1 million a year and to recruitment firms to do it for them, and they wanted to in-house some of that cost. I'm like, all right, great. Now we've got a problem to solve. Right now we're getting to the core of it. So we go ahead and we're building the websites, and they really enjoy the creative and they're really happy with the progression of the website and everything. And I started talking to the senior VP that was in charge of the project. And as I'm talking to him, I said, well, yes, this will help, draw more people to apply, because the only KPI that everyone really cared about was, again, the applications of mid to senior level engineers and executives that they were lacking. And so we, he said, will that help us convert? I said, well, yeah, but you're not doing anything actively to drive people to that, right? So what we ended up doing is I just asked him, I said, you're a $2 billion company. Do you have good story arc from your employees, right? Lisa started, here 5 years later, she's there, and, show a huge story arc. And he said, of course. So I said, okay, well, give me maybe a dozen of those people. One of them happened to be a guy. I think his name was Jeff, but we kind of made him a poster boy for the campaign. But he started in 1997 with the company as a lower level business analyst. And by 2017, he was the newly named CFO of a $2 billion company, right? That's a great employment story to tell. So what we ended up doing was we went back in and we got a bunch of interview footage, more video, and more photography and case studies and all this kind of stuff. We created amassed a large amount of content, and we created a digital campaign that we ran on LinkedIn, pointed at those mid and senior level engineers and executives, and ran a 4-month campaign, and their applications went up almost, what was it, about 1,400% over the course of that campaign, right? They got another 3,500 applicants that fit that KPI that they were looking for. So to answer your question, I know it's a long story and I apologize, but to answer your question, yeah, there's so many different ways to better utilize marketing, whether it's staffing, and that's just one example, right? But whether it's staffing or I have several clients that originally everyone wants new sales, and that's awesome, but what people don't realize is to actively market to your current client base over new customer acquisition. It's so much easier, faster, more profitable traditionally, depending on what industry you might be in, to harvest your current client base and market to your current client base. We have clients that when they came to us, 90% of their customers were buying one service or one product from them, right? I said, depending on what industry you're in, of course, but to educate their client base so they understand the full totality of their capabilities and how they can help them in a lot more directions than just a single service is really invaluable. So that's what I'm saying is every customer is just different, but you have to have the ability to have a soft set of eyes and truly listen to what's going on in order to help them.
So I think as we almost get to that tail end of what you were talking about there in some of those metrics you delivered, if I talk Google Analytics, with people, their eyes roll out of their head and it scares them to death, right?
For sure.
Social, everything, there's 1,000 ways to look at things. So I think that's really scary for people. And I would say from your perspective, are there effective and impactful ways to truly measure results that don't overwhelm us? And what might that look like?
Yeah, I tell you what, it's another great question, right? I had a client one time and I've never forgot it. We were showing him, new technologies and cooler way to do stuff. And he had to be real pessimistic, but it was a really good phrase. He said, yeah, everyone's got a better mousetrap. Nobody has any more dead mice, right? And that really kind of resonated with me because it's so easy to get lost in the sea of analytics, right? And I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the analytics are great. I love reporting, right? I love when you can look at simple conversions and say, hey, we did this, you did X, Y, and Z. These are the quantifiable results, which is awesome, right? But you have to, to me, I tried to simplify, and I mean, with each client it's different, but really the only thing that really matters, like if it's new customer acquisition, okay, cool. Where do we, what's our baseline? Where do we start at? What's, how much money did we spend? And then how much money came in, right? And I know it gets more complicated than that, but as long as you have the key performance indicators that show the right information, right? Because I mean, conversions on a website don't matter if people aren't buying, right? But there's also, then you can also get into like brand awareness campaigns, right? Which is, I mean, you can measure SEO, right? You can measure digital campaigns. You can measure, traction from trade show booths and all that kind of stuff. But you get into more brand awareness, billboards and radio and all that kind of stuff, which is it's nearly untrackable, right? And I'm not saying that there's no merit there, right? Some brands, it's a great defensive strategy. I mean, I'm based out of Michigan. We have a large hospital network here that they spend a ton of money just as a defensive strategy because they have, the entire, their entire media donut covered, right? And they always want to protect that, and that takes brand awareness, and that's totally cool. But for anyone who's not a $700 million healthcare group, you really have to be careful where you spend money. I mean, and I see it all the time is you see people spending on radio and billboard and all that kind of stuff. And I look at it very pragmatically. And to me, it's just simple. Like for that same money you're spending like that, there's like, if you had a more well thought out strategy, you could spend it on digital or whatever the medium might be best for you. You could get, you could 5x, 10x the positive effect that you can have, or the positive impact that you can have on your business by that spend. I hope I answered that for you.
No, yeah, you absolutely did. And I'm
just
not
just don't overanalyze.
Yeah.
Just don't overanalyze. Just understand. You don't need 600 indicators. You just need 3 or 4 that really tell the story. And it's really, again, there's tons of indicators in every direction. Don't overthink it, but just really understand what your very unique situation is and what your goal set is, and then figure out your metric from that. And I mean, it doesn't have to be any more complicated than 3 or 4 really dialed in analytics for you to look at. So that way you don't get baffled by BS, as they say.
Well, keep it simple seems to apply across the board for many of us. So in that vein, we're keeping it simple, and I'm not asking you to throw competitors under the bus, but are there mistakes you see that businesses make when it comes to their engagement with other marketing providers? And how are you trying to do things differently?
Oh, for sure, right. And it's not, I don't ever want to push, blame on clients or other agencies. All I can speak for is, my agency and, my work history, right? And I mean, to me, so much, there's an old phrase in the agency world, and it's every agency gets the clients that they deserve, right? And that works upstream and downstream. So every client deserves, the agency that they deserve as well. And to me, it's really just about anything else. It's about finding people that that understand you, right? That understand, like, an agency should seek out clients that understand how best they can help, right? I'm a big fan of Jim Collins' Good to Great, right? The hedgehog theory, right? Where just find the 2, 3, 4 things that you can be truly exceptional at, right? And you don't have to be everything to everyone, right? But if you understand intimately how you help the community that you serve, right? And just be terrific at that, right? But you have to be a good communicator. You have to be. I see a lot of agencies that they're, like I mentioned, at the start of this call, that they're very interested in making widgets, right? And I mean, listen, there's tons of people that do great web and do great brand work and all that kind of stuff, which is awesome. I absolutely love it, right? It helps make impact for clients. But if you're not having those intimate conversations with your clients about where they truly want to go and who they truly are, then you're doing a disservice to them by not taking the time to really understand that. Because at the end of the day, you can only make so much impact with a widget, right? And the goal is to help move mountains for the people that you work with, because they deserve it, and you owe it to them. I mean, that's your job. That's your obligation to them, is to help them in any way that you possibly can succeed, right? But if you don't truly understand what success looks like to them, then you're really, I mean, you might be able to help them, but you won't be able to truly help them.
No, couldn't agree more. And you know what? I don't want to end on a sour note, only talking about the stuff that isn't going well or mistakes. So, for businesses that feel like maybe they're spinning their wheels and their marketing investment hasn't yielded the results, what advice do you have for them? What should they be doing?
Stop. So they should stop everything, right? Stop everything. Take a deep breath and take a good, strong look at what you're doing, right? What are you doing? What have you done? What's working? What's not working? Don't chase widgets, don't chase shiny things, and just stop and breathe, right? What I look at, I ask my team all the time, right? What do we keep doing, stop doing, and start doing, right? You have to have an analytical approach to what you're trying to do. And if you are working with an agency, are you truly working with the agency, or are you just telling them what to do in there, and they're just doing it, and you're underutilizing their expertise, right? So that's that's really the kind of the core of it is, are you connected with the right group of people that like understands you, that just gets you, that like gets what you're trying to do, and is there to help you, like, no matter what. When it's okay to deliver bad news, or not even bad news. It's okay to tell a client, no, we think that you're wrong, right? Because that's your job. That's your professional obligation, is to give the absolute best advice possible, and to work with teams to get them, to educate them up, right? So they can be the best version of themselves, and you have the ability to help transform their business. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I understand, like, I love marketing. I jump out of bed every morning to do it, right? But most of the people that we help, I mean, we can help them in huge ways, but the work is all theirs. We're just, we play a 1% role in their movie, just helping them get from a small point A to a small point B, so they can continue on their story, if that makes sense.
No, thank you very much. And I think everybody can really take that to heart. And Dan, I just wanted to thank you for joining us on the podcast. And before we go, is there anything you'd like to say for those interested in learning more?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a real open book. I'm happy to talk to anybody. I mean, obviously I love what I do. And if anybody has any questions, about marketing, or, branding, or scalability with their internal marketing team, I mean, I'm wide open for questions, or, anything like that. So you can contact me at Dan at drivecreativeagency.com, or visit our website at drivecreativeagency.com.
Well, again, thank you. And we're going to include everything Dan's mentioned in the show notes. And I hope you've all enjoyed this latest edition in our Spotlight series. Thank you for listening today, and I look forward to joining you on the next episode. Until then, I'm Ryan Walter, and remember that solving your biggest business problems begins when you decide to accelerate your approach and achieve more.
At Parrels Advisory, our focus is your business's future. Having the right insight, experience, and perspective makes all the difference when tackling far-reaching issues within your company. We are here to simplify the steps, unlock your potential, and move you forward, making your vision a reality. We've helped startups achieve massive growth, mid-sized businesses navigate digital transformation, and enterprises embrace innovation. Wondering how to jumpstart your business and move it forward? Contact us to discuss your audacious goals during a complimentary consultation. Thank you for listening to this episode of Accelerate to Achieve. If you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen. Got a question, feedback on the program, or interested in being a guest? Simply go to parrels.co/A2A-podcast and send us a message. To learn more about our work or to book a consultation, visit us at parrels.co/contact. Until next time, remember that solving your biggest business problems begin when you decide to accelerate your approach and achieve more.